All right, we are going to start the Law Day virtual forum. We are having a few technical difficulties with the Facebook Live feed, so give me about 2 minutes to try to get that going. All right, sorry for that. We are going to ask the judges to join us now, if they will. Welcome to the first annual and hopefully the last Law Day virtual forum. We are thankful this year to have with us judges DuBose, Young, Peter, and Davis. We also have President-elect Charlie Potts and Executive Director of the Mobile Bar Association, Ann Sermon, with us. As most of you are aware, Law Day was May 1st, and in our local bar, it's usually celebrated by a week-long celebration of the importance of law that includes various events, activities, and services. This year, of course, with coronavirus, as with most things, we've had to adjust, and we're fortunate to have the technology to be able to be here today with you and to discuss with the judges the importance of law and the need for access to judges during this trying time. A few housekeeping and technology points. We are broadcasting live on a Zoom webinar. We are not currently broadcasting on Facebook Live because of technical difficulties, but we will post the video later so it can be viewed by all of you. You are automatically muted and we cannot see your video. This is a one-way street from us to you, but we do want to hear from you. We do want to take your questions, and we'll do a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you will, look at the bottom of your screen. There should be a chat box in the middle of the toolbar at the bottom, or if you're on an app, it might be in the top right corner. You can use that chat box to ask us questions. If you try to raise your hand or use the Q&A feature, we might not see it, so I do apologize for that, but we'll try to get to it anyway. But please include your questions in the chat box, and we will try our best to get to them. This gathering is also serving as our monthly bar meeting because we have not been able to have one in a couple months. So before we hand it over to the judges, our President-elect Charlie Potts has a few announcements.
Thank you, Weathers. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to see you, kind of. Glad you're here and participating in this. This technology is amazing stuff, and I'm glad that we're able to use it to try to get together, at least in a virtual way. Our president, Skip Finkbonner, had to be out of town on personal matters, and I'm pleased to stand in for him. And as Weathers said, we are trying to use this as our May monthly meeting, which historically and traditionally for us has also been our celebration of Law Day. So having the judges here is sort of part of that. And again, we thank the judges for taking time out of their day to join us here. And I encourage everybody, as Weathers just said, to post any questions that you may have or may be interested in for any of the judges here, and we'll try to get to them towards the end of the program. I do have a few announcements. The first one is you will be receiving very soon a membership survey. As we go through this pandemic and have been going through this pandemic, we really want to hear from you in terms of what your concerns are, and importantly, how our association can help you. We are here for our members, and really the most efficient and best way for us to find out what's going on with you or what's on your mind is through this survey. So when you get it, please take the time. It's not very burdensome. Maybe take it most 5 minutes to fill it out. Please do that and get it back to Ann. And while I'm on this topic, let me just say that I'm extremely proud of the way our bar and our judges and the court staff and Ann and Tammy at our executive office have responded to the coronavirus outbreak. I mean, we are a service profession. We're here to serve our clients and our community. And from everything I've seen, our legal community, and that includes everybody I just mentioned, has done an outstanding job of being there for our clients, being there for access to our justice system, and the courts have as well. So we really need to tip our hats to what the judges and the court staff have been able to do to keep the courthouses open for us. With respect to future MBA events, as you know, we can't really hold events live and in person right now. Hopefully that'll change in the very near future, but we're still going to try to have events like this by use of Zoom and maybe other technologies. If you have any ideas about anything on that, we would love to hear from you on that. Also, please understand that our Bar Association headquarters is open. They're not receiving, Ann and Tammy do not receive anybody physically in the office at present. Hopefully that will change soon, but the office is open. So if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to Ann or really any of the officers of the organization. Now we're gonna try something here. It is definitely outside the box, something that has never been done before. We are for sure plowing new ground, and hopefully we won't hit any big rocks as we do this. But we have a number of new nominees for membership in our organization. I think everybody knows that when we have new members, they get vetted by the executive committee. We have a slate of nominees who have been approved by the executive committee for membership into our organization, and we would like to try to vote today as a membership in this meeting to admit these new nominees. Weathers has put on your screen a list of the individuals who are nominated, and then the way we're going to try to vote on this is through this poll. Under the bylaws, and I won't take a lot with this, but under the bylaws, we have to have at least 50 members attend a monthly meeting, and we have that through the Zoom conference. And we need to get a vote, and the vote on admitting these nominees to membership is just a simple majority. So if you would, I'm going to read their names and tell you where they're currently working. I will tell you that these folks have been vetted and approved by the executive committee. And I'm going to try to run through this fairly quickly. I apologize for how quickly we will have to do this, but time constraints require it. And maybe we can do something in the future when we can all meet together face to face. The first one is Christopher L. Nixon. Mr. Nixon went to the University of Alabama and is employed with Phelps Dunbar. Ryan D. Senor graduated from Arizona Summit Law School and is employed with Gardberg and Kennedy. Lisa Hill went to the Alabama Law School and is employed with the Department of Human Resources. Benjamin Warren graduated from Cumberland Law School and is employed at Green & Phillips. Samantha Fox graduated from Loyola and is employed as a law clerk presently for Judge Pipes. Kevin Hayes, University of Alabama Law School, and is employed with the Hayes Law Firm. Finley Reeves graduated from University of Alabama Law School and is employed with Stone Crosby. Amy Robertson graduated from Mississippi College School of Law and is employed with Kubicki Draper. Keith Valente, I hope I pronounced that right, is graduated from Washington College Law and is employed with Austell Lewis and Pipkin. Catherine Carver graduated from Alabama Law School and is employed with the Carver Law Firm. Sabrina Ruffin graduated from Mississippi College Law School and is employed at Hand Erdahl. Susan Ham graduated from Cumberland and is employed with Ham and Associates. Douglas M. Wilson graduated from Cumberland and is employed at the DA's office. The individuals who I just read are seeking admission as active members in our organization. The following are nominees for associate membership, and they are Justin Koff, who graduated from the University of Mississippi School of Law, and he is employed with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and Oliver McDonald, who graduated from Columbia Law School and is also employed with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Last but not least is Debbie Emsbaugh, employed with the Loper Law LLC. She's seeking admission as an adjunct member. So these are the nominees approved by the executive committee. You see the poll to vote. I hereby move that the membership approve membership of these individuals. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion that has been seconded. If everyone will cast their vote now, and we can go ahead and tally those votes later, and we can go ahead and move on with the program. Weathers, back to you.
Thank you, Charlie. We are now going to have give each of the judges a little bit of time to speak about the process in their courts through this pandemic and what adjustments they've made and how they've accommodated the need for access to justice in our community. We will start with Judge DuBose, then go to Judge Davis, and then finish with Judge Young-Peter. So Judge DuBose, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have remained open throughout the whole time. Chuck Diard and our staff has done a wonderful job of keeping things going. Most of our employees have been working from home. We have been holding hearings via video conference in both civil cases and criminal cases. After the CARES Act passed, we were allowed to do pleas and detention hearings and arraignments via video conference. Our defendants are not at the Mobile County jail. They are in rural areas mostly, Conecuh, Monroe, Baldwin, and Escambia. So we were able to set up pretty quickly with iPads the ability for these rural jails to be able to communicate with us. The lawyers have still been coming to court, and they've been having to communicate with their in-custody defendants through video conferencing, but it's worked pretty well. We've processed a lot of cases in the last couple of months that way. Going forward, starting Monday, anyone who enters the court was required to, and will continue to be required to wear a mask the whole time they're there. And the mask, for the purpose of the mask is not to protect you, but to make sure you're not spreading this. This was on advice and counsel of Dr. Eichold. Starting May the 18th, also on advice of Dr. Eichold, we will have a screener at the front door who'll interview you and also take your temperature. Chuck Diard has, and our court security officers have come up with a plan to make sure everybody is spaced as they're coming in, being screened. So it'll take you a little bit longer to get to court starting on the 18th. We are ambitious. We have a plan to start jury trials on June the 1st. We have subpoenaed jurors. We are letting the jurors be excused if they have any concern whatsoever. They have health issues, they're elderly. Basically, if they say we're concerned about going out in public, then they're excused. So we're not sure how many we will actually have come on June the 1st. We are dividing the cases such that we never have more than one panel coming in at a time, which means no more than 40 jurors. We'll be holding those jury selections in the jury assembly room, which I think seats probably 200 people. So there's plenty of room to space everybody out. And like I said, this is our plan if we're able to go forward. If for some reason Dr. Eichold advises that we should not go forward, then we'll pull the plug on that. But right now we do have a plan to go forward with jury trials starting June the 1st again. I don't know if, I'm sure there'll be questions later, but I'll go ahead and pass it on to Judge Young, Peter.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and prime. No, Don, he unmuted. Don, I'll let you go next. That was the order, so I'll go last.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be able to share with you that while we've had to modify the manner we operate, the probate court has continued to operate throughout this time period. And I want to applaud Mark Irwin, our chief clerk, Rushing Payne, our chief deputy clerk, and all of our other clerks and staff members for what they've done to adapt to enable us to operate. The probate court is a little bit different from the U.S. District Court and the circuit and district courts in Government Plaza, in that in addition to our judicial responsibilities, we have non-judicial responsibilities. Our recording division is open and operating and has always been open and operating. You can't have direct contact with a clerk when you're trying to file a deed or mortgage or some other document, but we are here and we are transacting business. In terms of the judicial part of our operation, during the term of the stay-at-home order and currently, we are only having in-court direct hearings in the mental health commitment and in the emergency guardianship conservatorship aspects of our court operation. These are liberty deprivation hearings, and that's the reason we have in-court hearings. But at these hearings, we are utilizing all of the suggested guidelines in terms of social distancing. We're limiting the number of persons that can be in the courtroom. We have masks, gloves, hand sanitizer. We're wiping down the tables in between each case and exercising a lot of caution here to address all the safety concerns, not only of the people that are in the courtroom, but also the court staff. We have been conducting a lot of business, court business, by video conference, and we are not completely current, but we're fairly close to being current on all aspects of our docket, judicial docket. We've had some interesting things. We have a lot of pro se petitions, such as in the area of name changes, and we've had people that were at work, people that were driving to call in through Zoom at the appointed time for us to process their petitions, but we've done so and done so successfully. It's been kind of interesting to see the backgrounds of the people when they called in. Going forward, through right now, everything is video conference. Starting the 18th, we've got some specially set matters that will be in court, utilizing all of the recommended guidelines relating to the COVID pandemic that I touched on earlier. We will resume something similar to our general docket that we used to conduct on the week of June the 8th. At that time, we will have more cases set, but we're adjusting the number of cases that are set on the general docket. We'll be limiting the number of people in the courtroom and doing all the other items that are recommended, the precautions that are recommended. One thing that I would note also, while we have to set a lot of matters for hearing, if no party objects, then we can process the matter without a hearing. And that includes our guardians, the matters involving guardians ad litem, administrator ad litems, and court representatives in the guardianship conservatorship cases. So we have really been encouraging our appointed lawyers to do their work and get their written reports in promptly so that we can process those matters and avoid having to have a hearing, a video hearing or a direct hearing. And they've been doing a fairly good job with being responsive to that request of ours. I would note that I issued a general procedural order last week regarding the mental health commitment cases that outline all of the basic procedures we're going to be following, the protective measures we're going to be utilizing for the near future. This morning, I entered a similar administrative order regarding the other aspects of our judicial operation. Those will be shared with the Bar Association headquarters here a little bit later today, and I'm sure that Ann and Tammy will send those out to everyone. The bottom line is we don't want people coming here if they have any symptoms within the past 14 days or they're not feeling good, and that's lawyers, parties, and witnesses. And I won't read everything that's in that order, but just be aware that it exists. It's on our court website now, and like I said, we will send it to the Mobile Bar Association here in just a few minutes.
All right, Judge Young, Peter.
All right, my turn. I want to thank everybody who's participating in this meeting, and really wanted to just at the outset thank Ann Sermon. Early on, we were scrambling to get some orders in place. We acted quickly. We canceled jury trials immediately. I think it was March 12th, and boom, Ann's got that order out. The Alabama Supreme Court, as you know, acted the next evening and issued an order, and so I revised the order I'd sent out, and I think it was on the weekend, and Ann was working and got the order out. This bar association has been a valuable tool for the dissemination of various orders and information to get out to the lawyers and the public as to what's going on. Obviously, we've kept the courts open. I mean, there's this part of this, why we're here today is Law Day, and celebrate our system, our judicial system, and our constitutions provide open courts, and they have remained open physically and figuratively. The original order that was entered just dealt with jury trials, but then we quickly, because of the Supreme Court's order, limited in-person hearings in the courthouse, with exceptions. Y'all have all seen that order, I'm sure. It's got the exceptions for criminal matters where the constitutional right to a bond hearing and those sorts of things, and emergency domestic relations orders, child custody, things that are of emergent nature, we've handled in court. Bulk, like other courts, like Judge DuBose and Judge Davis talked about, we've our AOC quickly determined what video conferencing platform they wanted to use, and they embedded that into our AlaCourt system. So now we would pull up a case in our electronic filing system, and we just hit a button and it initiates a video conferencing through the Zoom platform. Proud of our bar. I mean, they have quickly adapted. I mean, most of you may have never, heck, I don't know. Maybe you've been Zooming for a while. I'd never heard of Zoom, or maybe I had, but I'd never used it, certainly before this pandemic. We've initiated those hearings, and the lawyers are up to speed. I had one this morning. I had one set at 9:30, and I initiated it out of our AlaCourt, and it blew up on me. I still don't know what exactly happened, but Bree Zarzor was one of the lawyers on the case. She quickly sent me a link to the hearing so I could get into the hearing that I had tried to initiate. So, and we had it a little late, but the lawyers have quickly become accustomed to dealing with this technology, and that's a huge help for all of us. But yeah, I'm proud of our court system for remaining open, as it has to be. The bulk of what we've been doing, particularly on the circuit level, is handling criminal cases where the defendants are incarcerated in the Metro jail. We've really worked hard the last few weeks to reduce the jail population, and we've done it. The population of the jail at Metro was 1,600 inmates when we started this, when we shut down, part of the courts, and it's now, I think, under 1,000 as of today. So over a third's been reduced, and those are, we're not, we're letting out non-violent, low-level offenders. Some we just can't make bond. We've allowed them to have just write signature bonds. We've gotten them out of jail, and that's important for them, of course, and for our community. You may or may not know, there's I think over 30 corrections officers at Metro have tested positive for the virus. One of them unfortunately passed away this week. And they're really not testing inmates. There's been no mass testing of inmates, and as we all know, testing's sort of not been where it needs to be across the state and country. So I understand they're in the process of doing that in the next couple of weeks, so we'll have a better idea. but very important that we try to prevent a huge outbreak. 1,000 persons over there. I saw somewhere in Indiana or Ohio, maybe 2,500 person jail. Over 2,000 of them got the virus, and some certain percentage of those folks had to be sent to hospitals. And so you could see the hospital system being overwhelmed if you had huge outbreaks. So we've recognized that risk, and that's been a lot of what we've been doing, is try to get that done and reduce the jail population. But we've done everything else too. We've handled our civil motions that have been filed. I'd say the first 2 weeks when this first began, the filings were way down. I think lawyers just weren't getting a lot done, making arrangements for how they were going to continue their practice. And now I see things picking up. The last few weeks, the motion that have shown up in my motion queue are on a much more regular basis. I think lawyers are adapting very well and getting work done. And we're certainly here to assist them in getting it done. We want to keep, obviously the criminal system needs to keep moving, and the civil system does as well. So we're going to get it done. As far as, let me just, I got a text as I was on this conference from a justice of the Supreme Court that I think is going to give me some indication as to what we may be doing. As you know, the extension order that was issued by the Supreme Court extends the in-person prohibition to the May 15th. So just a week from now. My best guess has been that will be extended further. I'm not changing that yet. Either the Supreme Court will extend it on a statewide basis because of the numbers. I think there were 28 deaths yesterday or the day before, statewide. They may extend it, and my guess is they will extend that in-person prohibition, at least a couple more weeks. If they don't, I think they'll probably leave it up to presiding judges around the state to determine whether it's appropriate to extend that in their particular counties or circuits. Given the fact that Mobile's a hotspot, it'd be likely that I would opt to extend it for some period of time. We have established some committees that are working on reopening procedures. We're going to reopen fully at some point, but we got to do it safely, and we're coming up with a set of procedures and methods by which we're going to do that. And both in terms of just general non-jury matters and jury matters, we actually have two different committees because the jury cases are going to be the much more difficult problem. But we're addressing it, working on it, and we're gonna come up with a way to do it. Weathers, I'll kick it back to you.
Thank you, Judge Young-Peter. We are going to do a little question and answer that Charlie and I will try to field questions from the chat box, and we have a few others that have been sent in. I will start with Judge Davis and ask, what positive changes in our legal community do you believe will come out of this pandemic?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I don't know how I would answer that at this point in time, quite honestly. We've learned to adapt. I think everyone's learned to adapt, and nobody likes change, but we've certainly learned that we had to change if we were going to continue, and we've done that here at the court. And I think our community and our law profession, our legal community, as well as our general community, has done that.
Okay, I agree. Judge DuBose, This is from was sent in just a few minutes ago. Are there any coronavirus related adjustments planned for those who may attend jury trials, such as social distancing or the like?
Yes, thank you for the question. When we have a jury trial, it will be conducted obviously in the courtroom, and any public member, members of the public that want to view that will be in the adjacent courtroom where the proceedings will be videoed into that adjacent courtroom. In other words, the public will not be in the same courtroom with the jury and the parties. The reason for that is in order to be able to distance the jurors from each other, we're not going to be able to just use the jury box. We're actually going to end up having to use part of the galley to space them out, which is going to be a little different. Lawyers are going to, have to figure out how to speak to the jury that way. But we're working on a plan. But no, there will not be any public in the actual courtroom. They will be in the adjacent courtroom where they can view all the proceedings.
Thank you. Judge Young, Peter, this is one that came in by email. How do the state and federal courts envision civil jury trials working between now and the end of the year, particularly given the safety of all parties and the fear that jurors or potential jurors may feel?
Yes, like as I mentioned a moment ago, that's going to be our most difficult challenge. Jurors, our supply of jurors primarily comes from two groups: working folks who are undoubtedly still going to be reeling from the economic impacts of this shutdown and slowdown, and then elderly retired folks who are at most at risk of severe consequences if they contract the virus. So I think we're going to have a hard time getting jurors. We'll certainly be very liberal in excusing yours for both those reasons, work, and more liberal certainly on work excuses than we normally would be. So I'm very interested if Judge DuBose and the federal courts get started on jury trials earlier than us. I'll be curious what their response rate is to summons. Traditionally here in Mobile, it's 2 to 1. We typically send out about 600 summons each week on each jury term, and we have 32 to 34 of them a year. So we'll send out 600 summons, and we get about 300, a little over 300 that will actually come in. This is before the coronavirus, so 2 to 1. What's it going to be now? I mean, is it going to be 4 to 1, 10 to 1? I mean, I don't know. I don't think we don't know. I'll be interested to find out what Judge DuBose's court's summons rate is. Now they've got a little different situation. They get questionnaires go out, and they may even have PIN numbers that jurors can check in. We just summons them. They all pile into our assembly room, which holds 350 people. We measured off the distance, 6-foot distance in that room. We've been putting 350 people, and you can now put 50 people in it. So we are, we can get 50 people at a time. And we figure we're probably going to try to have to find maybe another venue to summons jurors if we get enough to return the summons and come. We're looking into that, possibly the Civic Center or some other larger space as a place to assemble them and potentially even board hire them. My courtroom holds the public viewing section, the benches, which is where our jurors, like Judge DuBose, our jurors got to be as well. Once we commence jury trials, we'll hold about 12, 13 people total with the 6-foot distancing. A surprisingly low number. And we likewise would have to live stream to keep it open courts. We would have to live stream the proceedings. Unlike the federal courts, we can live stream them on YouTube. They have a prohibition about that. So that's how we'll have to conduct trials, is likely is board hire them some other way. Either we talked about a pure questionnaire board hire. handing out questionnaires and having them fill it out, and then giving those questionnaires to the lawyer and choosing that way without any actual other board ire. How's that strike you? A lot of trial lawyers just shivered in their boots. We wouldn't do that on big cases, but maybe routine cases. But we're thinking about a lot of different things. Like I said, I've got some committees set up, both for the reopening of the courts and also for specifically with jury trials, which are going to be hard. The other thing I want to say, the question was asked of Don. I do have two answers for what's come out of this that's good, and one is teleworking. We shut down. We kept our courts open, but our clerk's office of 60+ people was down to 5. We had 1 court administrator. We had only a couple judges because they were having hearings in each day. I mean, our courthouse personnel learned to telework, and it has been very productive, much more than I would have thought. And the other thing is, of course, the video conferencing, like what we're doing now. I think that's something that will survive this pandemic once it's done. I think we'll be doing more of that in the future.
I see there's 2 questions, whether if you want me to answer those.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, one is whether the bankruptcy court will follow the same reopening timeline, and the answer to that is no. The bankruptcy court, as you know, they're in a very, very small quarters right now. They are going to be moving into the remodeled courthouse in July. So the bankruptcy court will not resume until at least probably the end of July, the 1st of August is my understanding, as far as having people brought in to live hearings. The second question was, will the federal court supply the mask to litigants and those who will visit the courthouse? You know, we're asking attorneys to bring their own mask and their parties and witnesses. We will have a limited supply of masks that will be provided. We're not going to deny somebody access because they don't have a mask, as long as they're willing to put a mask on. And so we have been able to obtain a limited supply. I will emphasize, though, that these masks are not N95 mask. They're masks that will, the purpose is to prevent you from spreading. They're not necessarily to protect you from not getting it. So, but yes, we will have some mask available.
Thank you. Judge Davis, the next couple questions.
I saw that.
For you. Go ahead.
The question for the benefit of the viewers is, what do I see foresee in terms of voting processes this summer and fall? That is a very difficult topic right now. We, amongst everything else we've been working on, we're trying to get ready for the runoff election, which is now scheduled for July the 14th. We have determined, and Mobile County administration has verified, that 2/3 to 3/4 of our polls in Mobile County are not suitable to serve as polls if we utilize the recommended CDC guidelines. And I met with the county commission formally. I've been meeting with them and dialoguing with the Secretary of State's office, the governor's office, and the Attorney General's office for quite some time now, as well as our county commission. And yesterday, the county commission had a meeting, and I attended that meeting, and we're working on it. We're trying to, the county commission is responsible for locating our poll locations. We are working on trying to find larger facilities around the county that we can utilize on an emergency basis for the primary runoff election. We also are going to significantly reduce the number of poll workers that we utilize for the runoff election. And we're planning to utilize all of the CDC guidelines the best we can. We're looking at trying to, obviously we've got to take measures to protect the poll workers and address safety concerns for them. We also will do the best we can to protect the general public, the members of the general public that come to a poll to vote on election day. My best advice is for people to vote absentee and avoid coming to a physical poll at this time. But the polls will be open. I expect that there are going to be lines at a number of the polls because of us trying to utilize the social distancing guidelines and follow all the protective measures, and also that coupled with the reduced number of poll workers there to assist the voters. Everyone's going to need to be very patient if they go to a poll to vote on the runoff election. We're going to have probably the same challenges in the fall for the general election. I'm just right now trying to get us through the runoff election, and then I will start tackling the fall election. And what we learn and what we're able to develop in terms of the runoff election will help us get ready for the general election, I might add.
Thank you. Judge Davis, or Judge Davis, we've got a couple sort of rapid fire questions for you. Governor Ivey has temporarily allowed notarization via video conference. Do you expect that to become permanent, and do you support it?
I don't know if it will come permanent or not, but it has worked thus far, and if it works, it works.
All right, and then what about clients, witnesses, or lawyers who fall into the at-risk group and do not feel comfortable coming to court? How are you dealing with them?
Well, we're doing a lot of things by video conference. We are utilizing or able to utilize Zoom as well as court call and Skype. And another thing that we established early on is that we have a conference room on the first floor of the building we're in. We're in the annex next door to Government Plaza, of course. And we have a conference room on the first floor that we have set up where if a lawyer or pro se parties do not have video conference capability in their residence or in their office, they can schedule to use our conference room on the first floor, and we can conduct they can come here to the courthouse, use that conference room, and we can conduct our video conference hearing. And we have all the safeguards in place in terms of mask, and we wipe down everything. We're very attentive to all that.
Great, thank you. Judge Young-Peter, how backed up are jury trials? For example, if I had a trial scheduled for October 2021, can I expect that trial to be pushed back to December or even 2022?
Trial scheduled for 2021 right now? Feedback?
Yes, that's the question.
Okay. I don't think we're that backed up. We'll see. We are starting jury trials up at the normal time that we'd already scheduled. Of course, we had to cancel May and some of April and a couple of weeks in June, but so we had to reschedule those trials, and most of those I was able, for instance, on my docket to keep it in this year. So we're starting back up in mid-August, tentatively. We'll see where we're at. The problem with jury trials, I don't think it's going to be any easier to do it in August or any harder than it is in December or January of next year. I think we're going to be doing a social distancing for quite some time, at least until there's some kind of vaccine for this virus. So we're going to have to figure out how to do it. And like I said, we're in the process of doing that now, figuring out how we're going to voir dire them, assemble, voir dire, and try the cases are the three challenges, and they all have different sets of problems.
Thank you.
Withers, I might add, remember we have jury trials in probate court too, notably in will contests, and we're in the same situation as circuit court. We pull our panels from our jurors from the same panel. So ditto everything that Judge Young Peter just shared applies in terms of will contest and probate court with jury trials. And I had a couple that are scheduled and they're on hold right now until we can get all this worked out.
Good point. Judge Young Peter, this is another one for you. Can we conduct a bench trial in circuit court right now?
No, not unless it involves one of the exceptions to the in-person prohibition. Just a general civil bench trial, no in-person proceedings are allowed pursuant to the Supreme Court's order. And again, may well be extended beyond the 15th, either by the court or by me down the road. I've pushed a lot of stuff into the summer with the anticipation that we'd be able to open for, a routine civil case and have a non-jury trial. We'll see how that goes. It's going to be difficult, I think, to handle a trial, a final disposition via Zoom or video conference. Maybe we'll get really good at this and be able to do that down the road. I mean, right now, a lot of difficulties with doing that. I think it's much better designed to help with just motion practice and motion hearings and even small evidentiary hearings than a final disposition type of trial.
Thank you. All right, we have one more question Charlie has, and then he is going to give closing comments and adjourn. Charlie, you're muted.
There you go. Hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, very good. Thank you, others, and thank you again to our judges. Let me again offer to our judges that the Mobile Bar Association has a number of standing committees, many of which liaise with the various courts, and I would recommend that as needed, reach out to our bar and our committees for any support or anything else you might need. It really has been remarkable what our courts have been able to do in terms of responding to this crisis. I've got one last question, and it may be more for judges Young Peter and DuBose, but my question is this: once jury trials resume, and I know there's a backlog of cases because there haven't been any jury trials, but once the jury trials resume, will the criminal cases take priority over the civil cases, thereby pushing the civil trials back even further on the calendar?
I'll jump in first on that since I'm not muted. You and I have had this discussion a little bit. My intention is to keep the schedule we're on. All the judges down here on 2 weeks on criminal, 2 weeks on civil, and then every now and then a week of non-jury. And we're keeping those schedules. We are not going to throw the civil lawyers under the proverbial bus. There's been a couple of months of delay, because of this, and maybe less than that if Judge DuBose starts up the federal courts. The way the speedy trial analysis works, this delay is certainly excused and understandable, and I'm not sure we even count towards a speedy trial sort of petition. Now, do we want to get the criminal trials handled, and do we need to in a speedy and expeditious fashion? Absolutely. But I don't think at this point there's any need to say we need to do all criminal for some period of time and get rid of the civil settings. We have no intention of doing that in state court.
Well, in federal court, as always, the criminal cases will take precedence, but we have a plan to where we will be able to have, you know, 2 of the active district judges doing criminal, while 1 can take care of their civil docket. So that's sort of how we plan to try to go forward. And I don't foresee it being a problem. So the only problem we would have is we have more than, you know, a couple of trials going on at a time, trying to maintain social distance with the more than 1 jury panel, but we're going to work on that.
All right, very good. Well, we're approaching the 1-hour mark for this, and so I think it's about time to adjourn. Before we do, I would like to announce, and I am pleased to announce, that our new members received unanimous vote of membership by the majority of the attendees of this conference by our membership. So I am pleased to welcome all of those individuals named earlier into membership of our Bar Association. Again, I'd like to thank our judges for taking time out of their day to speak with us. It's always good and important for us to hear from our judges. I'd also particularly like to thank Weathers Bolt. Weathers has done a yeoman's job of putting this together, really spent a lot of time and effort getting it done. I sure couldn't do it. Very talented at this, and we all owe Weathers a great deal of thanks for his efforts on this conference. Ann and Tammy likewise have done great work on not just this conference, but all the other stuff that Judge Young Peter mentioned. So there being no other or further business of our association, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.